So this is going to be my overall review of the Chuwi Hi8 Windows and Android tablet. I've had the device now for I think about a month. I've honestly forgotten how long I've had it because I got it in the midst of the second half of the semester and I've been really busy with studying and finals and whatnot, so I've kind of let time get away from me. I purchased this case for it. It's a really cheap case, but it does the trick. So we're going to go ahead and boot this up, and I'm going to tell you, well, there's little old me. I honestly don't know what operating system this is going to boot into. It's either going to boot into Windows or Android. We'll just have to see what happens. Okay, it looks like it's going to boot into Android. Okay, so hang on while I input my unlock code. Whoops. There we go. So as you can see, it's pretty much stock Android. I mean, if you've seen one Android tablet, you've seen them all. There's not an awful lot of bloatware on this thing. I've got some apps that I've installed, and I'll just... Oop. I'm going to keep the notifications hidden because I don't want them to reveal anything personal. Okay, it looks like they're all done coming in. So anyway, like I said, standard Google Android tablet. I have installed some apps on here. These are all my custom reading apps. I've got the screen filter as well, which is nice because it helps to tone down the brightness farther than what the system allows. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to turn that off. There it is. As you can see, there are definitely some sacrifices to be made with a device like this. Let me pull up a website real quick and you'll see one of the great advantages of a device like this. So give me just a moment. So we'll just go to Engadget. And you can see it's reasonably quick with websites. We're just going to pick a random article to read. I have no idea what this is. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to share it to app Voice Aloud Reader. Whoops. So let me unlock. This is going to take a moment.
The next Mars rover in mixed reality. I walked around the model of the next-gen rover, which was only visible to the headset wearers in the room, before crouching down for close inspection. As I leaned in to look at one of the corners,
you get the idea. This is very similar to the reader that I have on ZoomText on my Macintosh, except this one allows me to utilize whatever browser I want. It's a standalone app too. It's not part of a I'm sorry, I was just checking something. It's not a part of anything major, like any different any application suite. Okay, looks like we got a full battery there. This is, like I said, standard run-of-the-mill Android. You get your notifications. Like I said, if you know how to use one Android device, you can use this one. There is one really interesting quirk. It runs Kitkat. Let me go into settings here, which I think would be easier actually to do from the home screen because I can't find it. So give me just a moment. And in case you're wondering why everything is locked down, it's because I went ahead and asked CM Security to do that. I didn't realize it was going to lock every screen of every app. I thought they was just going to lock certain parts. So if we go to About Device, you'll see a lot of the major information here, but what you won't see, and I'm trying to cover up the important doodads, at the very bottom there is no check for software update. So so that's one of the major downfalls. This is a $99 device. Okay, so don't expect the moon for $99. But what's really cool about this is there's an item here. If I hit this icon here, it says OS switch. If I hit that, and now the device is restarting. While it's restarting, so in the way of ports, we really don't have much. We have a micro SD card slot here on the side. We have volume and power buttons on the upper side here. We've got headphone and micro USB on the top. And that's about it. So this is your standard Windows desktop. Let me hang on a moment. Let me see about logging in. All right, so let's go ahead and log in. Give me just a moment. Now we're going. Because this is not my main computer, sometimes I forget the password. It's going to take a moment. So here's your standard Windows 10 desktop. I've got ZoomText loaded on this thing, so it's going to take another moment for that to power up. This is one of the problems with trying to run...
Welcome to ZoomText 10.1. I have a serial number and want to activate ZoomText. Enter your serial number to automatically activate ZoomText. I have a ZoomText USB device. Insert your ZoomText USB device now. Windows touch mode. I want to try ZoomText. 12 days remaining. Windows touch mode. Windows touch mode.
Okay, so one of the problems that I have with running ZoomText on this is sometimes the screen gets cut off. But other than that, it actually runs really, really well. It's your standard Windows PC, so really there's nothing I have to say this is going to be a relatively short review because there's not an awful lot to demonstrate here. Chuwi, aside from the OS switch client on the Windows side, really didn't add an awful lot. All of this I've added. things like ZoomText and in the Intel graphics drivers. It's literally a full Windows PC and an 8-inch tablet, and ZoomText is just working really, really well. There is a caveat, and that is if you try to load up, so if we try to load up Firefox, so let's go to that through the Start menu, because double tapping on the
Windows touch mode.
touch screen can be a bit of a pain.
Search box.
So let's see. We'll go to All Apps.
Windows touch mode. Start.
All right.
3D builder.
So let's go ahead.
Windows touch mode.
And the reason I have it in ZoomText touch mode most of the time is because of all the scrolling you have to do around the system.
Windows touch mode. Cortana.
So let's go ahead and load this. That should be fully loaded. Let's see. Okay, it's still working. Yeah,
Search query. Search query.
yeah, if you
Search query. Search query.
Yeah, if you attempt to do, unfortunately, ZoomText itself runs just fine, but if you try to run anything over the top of it beyond one application, it's going to struggle. And I think that has to do with the 2 gigs of RAM on this and the Intel Atom processor. So it's usable, but barely.
New notification.
Update spyware protection, I think that says. I don't care about that right now. Not in the video. As soon as I'm done with the video, I'll go ahead and...
Windows touch mode. Search.
So, this is one of the downfalls to using ZoomText on a touch screen like this. If I bring up the keyboard...
Windows touch mode.
Having to move around here like this is a bit of a pain. And I do apologize if you're having trouble seeing this. I'm not looking directly through the camera. It's easier for me if I look over the camera.
Conversion candidate list. Windows touch mode.
Now, in case you're wondering, I did talk to AI Squared about this, the developers of ZoomText, and they said that they're working on an easier-to-use keyboard solution for devices where it's not necessarily convenient to use a hardware keyboard.
Windows touch mode. Windows touch mode.
All right, that should do it. Let's close this out.
Windows touch mode.
Close. And did that type anything? Yes, it did. Perfect. So let's go ahead and search.
Windows touch mode.
All right, now let's just go to Engadget.
Windows touch mode. Engadget. Engadget. Official site.
Click on that article we had there
Page loaded
before.
Engadget vertical bar technology news, advice and features. Windows touch mode. Windows touch mode.
So you can see this is actually very, very usable.
Windows touch mode. Page loaded. NASA is building the next Mars rover in mixed reality.
So let's
Windows touch mode.
let's get to a readable block of text. Here we are.
My head inside NASA's latest Mars rover during a mixed reality demonstration at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory JPL in Pasadena. As soon as I strapped on a HoloLens, a vibrant holographic vehicle popped up in front of me. I walked around a model of the next-gen rover, which was only visible to the headset wearers.
So getting out of here, I believe it's a 3 or 4 finger double tap, and this is where the device runs into problems. It has to do with the touch controller in the display, I think, but oftentimes I have trouble getting out of this mode.
Wearers in the room before crouching down. Before crouching down for.
There we go. As you can see, that took a moment, and that shouldn't have to happen. On higher end tablets, I'm certain that's not the case. But again, this is $100. This is $100 for what is essentially, literally, a full Windows PC. So, I mean, this is full Windows 10. So,
File Explorer, desktop not checked.
So we've got literally your full. This is, you know, just your typical Windows 10 install. There's really not an awful lot here
Windows touch mode. Windows touch mode.
that is not unfamiliar
Windows touch mode.
to Windows users. Overall performance for ZoomText, like I said, it's okay. It works. But any 3 or 4 finger gestures can be a problem. And also, if you try to load, I've actually done this. I'm not about to do this right now, but I have used Skype on this. The camera is dim, the microphone is faint, and the overall performance is just horrible. It literally grinds to a halt. So I would not recommend this for anything more than just casual web browsing. I actually got this as an experiment. I wanted to see how well ZoomText worked on a touchscreen because I'd never experienced it before, and I have to say that I'm very impressed. For my next full-fledged PC, depending on how Apple does in the next several years, because I plan to use my iMac till it drops, but the next time I need a tablet or something like that, or a full PC, what I'll probably do is get a 10-inch Windows tablet that's of much higher quality. Not necessarily to say this is bad, but if you want to use this for anything beyond the absolute basics, you're going to have problems. So let's see. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut it down.
Windows touch mode. Search. Cortana.
And we'll go to...
Windows touch mode. Stop. Power options. Windows touch mode. Power.
Alright, so we're now shutting down the PC. Overall, the system, it's a lot snappier on Android than it is on Windows. And I do apologize for lifting the device up during the video. It's just that I needed to have a good idea of what I was doing. And as you probably have noticed, the screen reflects like nobody's business. The touch controller is usable, but again, if you want to go for 3 or 4 finger gestures, you'll have to be very careful. That and the device heats up, and I do mean heats up considerably. After just a few minutes, I'm feeling the back here, and it's already pretty warm. On the back here, I forgot to mention, you do have a... You also have a speaker and a 5 megapixel camera that I said is absolute crap. On the front, same sort of thing. You got cameras here, proximity sensor. Honestly, if you're going to use this for anything other than the absolute basics, I strongly advise you to look elsewhere. Like I told you before, it'll run ZoomText. As you've seen, it runs Firefox. It's not the fastest in the world, but try to tax it beyond the basics and you're going to have problems. So this is basically my overall review of the device. My final verdict, would I buy this again? Probably not, except that I've now run into a little bit of a conundrum. One of my relatives' birthdays is coming up, and after having seen this, they don't understand why a Windows PC has to cost $200 or $300. So I'm trying to find an economy PC for them that is not necessarily, you know, crap. Not that this is crap, but I feel like the user experience would be subpar. And also, because this is coming directly from China, you never know what could end up being on here. I can tell you that when I first put Avast on here, it did find 1 or 2 things. This was directly out of the box. Also, I had to contact Chuwi, who had to provide a driver because the clock wasn't operating quite right. Every time I went into Android and came back to Windows, the clock in Windows was 8 hours fast. So, you know, you get what you pay for. If you think about it, it's really $50 for a window, for a literally a full Windows PC, and $50 for an Android tablet, all in the same shell. The onboard storage is about 32 gigs. Windows robs about, if you split it evenly down the middle, Windows gets most of that. And I have, with very little install, like I said, I don't have too much on here beyond what I need for school. And I'm already down to maybe 3-4 gigabytes. So it's Windows. What do you expect? Android is a little bit better. It gave me 6.5 gigs out of the box, and I'm down to 6 or 5.5, somewhere around there. But overall, it's very usable. But I would strongly recommend that if you need this for anything other than the basics, look elsewhere. Again, this is not my primary system. I would never make it my primary system. This was just an experiment, and it's answered the question that I wanted answered, which is the next time I'm in the budget for in the market for a full-fledged PC, it'll probably be a Windows tablet. Now that I know that ZoomText can work so well on this kind of hardware, even though I wouldn't want to go this low. But there we go. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.